Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to OSW Daily. How are you doing, Mike? How you doing?
Good morning, Steve.
Good, good, good. Thanks. I,
That
I
was
think
my.
you
Oh, I'm
just
doing
left.
well. Did you
That's
ask me
you're
a
doing
question?
well. I did, but you just said good morning. But that's
Ah,
okay, Mike. I'm getting used to your behavior these days. It's been a while,
I'm
so
tired.
you're
Steve, why
tired.
am I tired? It's Thursday. I had a busy day yesterday. I guess that's why I'm tired. Lots of great fun doing this with you every morning. Live streams, meetings, Zoom calls, and then last night we had the Capital Chapter of IFMA annual meeting and happy hour where I was able to serve as in-house DJ to do an
Nice.
80s music trivia mix, which was a lot of fun. But with every high comes the ultimate letdown, and I
Well,
guess
that's
that's sort
that's good. I'm sure our
of
audience are
feeling that
super
today.
super excited. Our audience are super excited that they're getting to experience your low point. Last night perhaps
Yes,
we should have been there. Still, we got your high point. But anyway, let's see what we can do to raise those spirits. But anyway, if you are here, and even though you're going to see the low side of Mike, if you're in a good mood, give us the thumbs up. Let Google, let YouTube know that people are watching and sharing and allow other people to be shared the content here. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we have a couple of things, and there's one piece of content, Mike. I did hold back from you. Something a little
uh-oh,
different. I called
you
it.
got a
So
surprise for me?
I've got a little bit of a surprise. Yeah. Well, given your own low, I thought, oh, let me create that little bit of anticipation. Let me create that
Oh
little bit
boy,
of drama for you. So we'll see where we go.
I'm
Um,
excited.
so, so what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about a LinkedIn article, an update on their return to work, the surveys that they do, how industry's doing, and sort of the reporting on that. We've been following that over the last couple of months, so that'll be an update on that. Reimaging the workplace post-COVID and resilient leadership, and then something a little bit different.
Mhm.
All right.
All
Keeps
right. Well,
people
let's.
keeps people intense, and as I said, if you are here, do give us a thumbs up. Do let YouTube know that we're here and you want to do it, and also please do subscribe. We want to increase our subscriber base. The more more subscribers we get, then the more people in YouTube will come watch. And please do comment and let us know what you think. And there is a link below if you want to receive ahead of time content that we're going to talk about, plus other new bits and bobs that we're adding to our daily newsletter. Productivity tips, workplace statistics, things like that. This sort of will provide you with valuable information and insights as you try and work through your return to the office and the future of work. So let's dig.
OSW Daily
Oh, let's
rocks.
double. Thank you, man. Thank you. See, your energy's coming back, man. Whether you say it or not, it's coming. I feel it. I feel it.
Let's do it.
So,
Let's do
so
it.
here we go. The three industries most worried about returning to the workplace. This is something you shared, and obviously we've been tracking this. Where George is sort of preparing almost like a monthly article where he goes through, he does surveys with LinkedIn members, and then reports a lot of the statistics and data points. I find this really quite interesting, and I think it talks to the sentiment I think that we're probably feeling within the country in a whole lot of different ways, not just in workplace itself. So, what are the main concerns that people have? It's not the actual physical workplace. If you look at the data here, actually it's quite low, right? What sanitization, cleanliness. I think there's very little fear around that. But actually, our
Hmm.
concern is about other people. How are other people going to behave? And if we think about the real industries that it's impacting, retail, entertainment, education, where we're going to have a lot of interaction where you have to think, if you work in those industries, then you are going to be impacted and you're going to be interacting with a lot of different people. So I can understand that. And I was just curious to know, obviously you have a few people in your family or, educators.
Yeah.
How do they feel about this, Mike? I'm just curious to see what sort of insights you've got on that.
Yeah. It's tough to sometimes remember that we, as you and I talk in the world of workplace and the office setting, corporate real estate, we have this kind of conversation going on around what it takes to return to those offices. And for many of us, it's a choice because we can do our work from home. We're pretty productive. We're very effective. And it's a matter of, when it's our choice. But when it comes to, like you say, the teachers in my family, and I have two of them, they are being told it's time to come back, or we need you back, or what have you, depending on the region of the country. And things have changed. I think there was a thing locally here where they had originally planned to go back next month, but now they've put it back on hold, and they're going to do distance learning once again. But my sister, for example, I know that she was very fearful of the virus, but was willing to go ahead and do it because she loves her job, loves the kids, wants to be there for them. And when the opportunity, or I guess the call came out to, return to school, she was prepared to do so. So there's kind of two conversations here, and the survey from George here on LinkedIn is an interesting one because it breaks down the attitudes about whether you're not concerned at all or whether you're very concerned. And obviously we know, and we don't talk about it enough, but this big impact of this pandemic on our global economy, and here in the U.S., certainly industries like retail and entertainment and restaurants and concerts and all those things that you and we've talked about before, sports events. He talks about the sports teams being impacted. It all is going to have a major long-term effect on the economy and those industries and those people that are employed by those industries, certainly. And I think that's just a good reminder, because a lot of times we think things are going along pretty well. We're hearing about Google yesterday, saying work from home till next summer, and we're all very productive in this internet economy, and all knowledge workers seem to be doing pretty well. And we're going to talk later this morning about some of the ways to improve on remote work and all these great things. But there are parts of our economy, big chunks of our economy, where that's just not an option. And I always am reminded of that when I see these surveys.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. I thought there would be a greater anticipation, or not anticipation, worry or concern over the actual environment. But I guess there is satisfaction, and the worry is low. But I totally get the exposure to other people. But then people saying, like in construction as well, 26% have no concerns. I find that interesting as well.
Yeah, there was a description of a guy returning to his construction site, pretty much as back to usual. I guess if you're outdoors for the most part, until that, there's a couple of factors we all know about now. The data has come in. We know that the risk is very low when you're outside and in the sunlight, when you're distanced and there's the winds blowing. We know that the main form of transmission is person to person respiratory droplets. So the mask issue is obviously top of mind for everyone. But indoors, this has come up in my family just recently. I mean, we are trying to get together and do those socially distanced gatherings, outside to keep it safe for my parents and keep everybody's health in mind. But in the dead heat of summer, and I know this is why there's a resurgence of cases in these very hot summer settings, people can't sit outside and be comfortable, so they're bringing it indoors and taking that risk, and therefore the cases are increasing. And we have this debate in my family all the time. It's like, we should just do it. Let's just have an indoor meal together, with mom and dad. And I'm just struggling with that.
Yeah, no.
So I think we all have to process it, and everybody's making their own decision. We all have to, understand our level of vulnerability and those around us and those we care about. And that's what makes it such a complicated, wicked problem for our society.
It is, and it's just sort of thinking through, if you take that mindset of people concerned about getting into work in those environments, I sort of look at myself and I ask myself, well, how do I feel about, going to retail, going to entertainment venues, or going into something like a school, And mine is resistant just because of the same concerns. So I can totally understand the mindset of the folks who are going to be working in those environments. All right, so you did touch on the remote work, and I did come across a video this morning. Again, I always go on about YouTube, and you watch your subjects, and YouTube's really good at finding content that sort of they feel works for you. So I love it, and there's a few things that sort of really come through. Now this was put together by the Remote Nation Institute, and it's based off a survey, and then also advice and guidance they're trying to give for people to really understand how to evaluate, one, their own organizations and build in remote mindsets, one for leadership, but also thinking about how you develop a long-term strategy. And there's a couple of really interesting points in here that I wanted to touch on, Mike. One is the largest productivity and satisfaction gains realized by employees working from home full time. I've heard this a lot, that I think wasn't initially or previously acknowledged or understood, in a sense that, meaning there is a remote workforce that within most organizations, and if people looked at their uh, employee engagement scores, productivity scores, and engagement, other factors, they were actually scoring relatively high prior to COVID. And then we've seen, as people go home, we've seen that continue. So actually more people working from home, they feel more engaged with the organization, they feel more in touch, they're working that little bit longer hours, so they're giving up a little bit of the commute time. But then, instead of having to be in the office for, 9 a.m., leaving the home or whatever time they actually, when they typically leave home, they just start their workday because, in essence, it's just easier to do that. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about as well. And then the barriers to remote work, they actually mentioned that management is actually going to be the biggest barrier. And I find that interesting. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past. Obviously, leaders and managers, right, have a core responsibility to the organization to maximize their stakeholder values, right, or stakeholder returns and within the values of the organization. And they're trained and they know how to do that in the work environment. And the actual fear of not being able to deliver that in a remote workplace or a sort of a hybrid situation is probably causing them concern. I can understand that. We can feel that. So then the next thing is we go to the long term is, so how do you really train folks to actually manage that hybrid solution and manage those remote that remote workforce? So yeah, I find this a really interesting thing, and obviously the good strategies touch everything, right? And it listed out many ways where this does impact.
Yeah, lots of great points here. And start at the beginning is, as you've taught me, I must consider the source. And this is a consultant who is in the business of training distributed work. So she obviously has a particular interest in mind. But again, I agree. And what she said is true. And what you just said about productivity going up and what was happening pre-pandemic and what we discovered early in the forced lockdown situation is true for many of us, but not for all of us.
Right.
And that's the key that was missing from this presentation, I think, and is also something we need to make sure we consider is that absolutely, I was a remote worker before the pandemic, very productive, very happy in that situation because of my personality type, the work I do, the type of things I do, the travel I do, it all worked out very well for me. And I'm sure there were a big bunch of people that had not considered remote working or were not offered the opportunity who all of a sudden found themselves at home, got great setup, got their office going, and found themselves loving it. More flexibility in their scheduling, less commute time, right, Steve? And also just getting a lot done, and they found out it was a great fit for them. But for all those folks, there's probably an equal amount of people who, because of personality type, home situation, inability to separate, kids and distraction and all those things, the things we've talked about, there are a lot of people who are struggling in this environment. And yes, remote work will be a part of our future regardless. It'll be a bigger part because of that discovery phase we've been through. But the management key is the key. The management part is the key. The managers that, were doing it one way before the pandemic hit, and before all these changes started happening, have to now rethink, reimagine their, interactions with employees and the way they manage their teams and the way we work with each other. And it requires training. And I think that's the key takeaway that I've seen. And I haven't seen that in real life so far. I mean, many of us are so busy and just kind of keeping our head above water these last 5 months, working from home and being as busy as ever or more so. I'm sure there's got to be a point where, and we're starting to talk about it. This is the time, and we had a great live stream conversation yesterday on Workplace Innovator where it was about change management communication. I had two experts in that area talking about the essentials of reimagining and rethinking the way you work with your teams and communicate with them, not just about the return to office plans, but just the day-to-day now, the current environment, the new reality, I kept calling it. This is what we need to do, and how can we replace and rethink about some of those things that we're missing from our office settings and the things we've lost a little bit, the camaraderie and the building and the team building and the innovation and the ideation that goes on in an office setting. Are there ways through technology tools and through new strategies to make those things happen. And there are, and some people are doing them, and it's just beginning to happen. So I like this video, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah, no, and just a nice segue into, we talk about tech tools. The next thing we want to talk about is a interview that was done with the Chief Information Officer of Deloitte, Larry Quinlan. Really, really short interview, like 14 minutes long, but they covered a lot. And, this is a guy who's been working in for Deloitte 25 years and has seen a lot of technology evolutions, transformations. And they covered a lot in that very short period of time, but there was two things that really popped out to me. What do companies need to do to digitally evolve? And I loved his answer. And I loved his answer for a couple of reasons. One, it's really simple, really straightforward. And two, you can apply this to anything. And here was his guidance and what he would say. So what do your people do? Right? So fundamentally get back to your people. How can they do it better? And then also what tech can be applied to help do it better. But then if we take that and we want to look at that from facility management, human resources, workplace technology, workplace design, all those attributes, we can follow those three simple steps. What do your people do? How can we do it better? And how can fill in the gap be applied to do it better? I thought it was great.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole video. Full disclosure.
No, that's fine. I get it.
The guy waking up late right before the live stream, and you sent this link to me, and it's a little bit outside of my scope to be able to watch it all. But I did see the beginning, and the digital transformation buzzword they were joking about is something I'm very familiar with. It's been part of my vernacular for many years, and it's a real thing, and it's something that's been happening before the pandemic, and is again one of those areas that I think has been, fuel has been placed on that fire, and it's accelerating this need to transform the way the workplace operates. And digital transformation is just that topic. It's been used so many times in different arenas. But yes, absolutely, this idea that you're laying out is understanding, very systematically what needs to be done. I had a great opportunity to interview someone from Deloitte last year. They've done a lot. A lot of these big consulting firms are very much in the forefront and leaders in the areas of thought and strategy and process. That's what they do well. Kind of the opposite of a guy like me. They're very, systematic thinkers, very meticulous, process driven, because they're trying to get, obviously that's their business, is to build these efficiencies in organizations. And I do find it fascinating when someone with that much experience, shares what's going on in today's world. But I don't know, for your perspective, do you see this as an opportunity to really reimagine how your team works and how others operate, and what technology tools are you seeing available? I know, my team and I office here, we've done a lot of things to develop new features that kind of help the practical side of return to office, and physical distancing features and communication tools, and room and desk booking software tools. So digital technology is, and that's just the tip of the iceberg with all the digital tools available today, for interaction and for, collaboration and so forth. And some of them came up yesterday on my live stream, ideas, about Yammer and things like that. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on this, and what do you see potentially having a big impact on helping us, through these uncertain times and new reality, as we call it?
I'll be honest with you. I still think it's too early to really see what's coming. I mean, I was absolutely talking to many organizations who are starting to think differently in the products that they're looking to deliver. Like, be it access control, where they're looking at facial recognition. Right, so this is where a technology you basically apply that allows you, you walk up, a camera recognizes you, it opens the door for you, allows you in, but it's still its infancy to be utilized through a portfolio. It's going to be many other types of sensors, and the other big thing that sort of is why I'm hesitant to sort of push forward with some technologies is there are legal ramifications for a lot of the things that we want to do. just simply for GDPR, data
Yeah.
protection. And there are a lot of things that are being looked at, and there's a lot of, I'll certainly share things as I find things that are really interesting. But
Yeah. Please do.
I'm just at this moment in time, I'm really reluctant to sort of say something specific because
Right.
there is a lot of really exciting technology that is being evaluated. I'm looking at, but actually, I don't think there's that much ready yet for delivery. But I appreciate the question. And one of the things that was just mentioned through the video was actually, there's digital transformation, but what we're actually going through is you could call it a COVID transformation in a digital way. And I thought it was a very interesting term that was actually used. But there was one other piece in here that I did want to come back to, and I haven't heard this articulated or explained in such a simplistic way, and it related to diversity and inclusion. And
Okay.
Larry was actually asked, how do you build an organization culture that includes diversity and inclusion? And he put it really, really simply. How do you build an organization where everyone feels they can fulfill their aspirations, and that everyone feels their leaders have their backs and someone is going to listen to them? So that doesn't matter what race, color, gender, religion, any aspect of it, but how can somebody, no matter who they are within your organization, feel that all their aspirations can be fulfilled, and they know their leadership has got their back, and they're going to have someone there to listen? I thought it was fascinating, and it was a tremendous summary of his insights on diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, that's what makes a great leader. Someone who can make employees feel that way, feel valued. We talk about it all the time on our show, is that we want, above all things, regardless of your role, your responsibility, the best match for an employer and employee relationship is when the employee feels that their skills are aligned with the goals, the mission of the organization. Their philosophy is clear, and there's a connection there. That's what makes people engaged and happy and most productive. But then at the same time, the big piece of it is, do I feel valued? Do I feel appreciated? And do I have a place that really respects and appreciates what I do? And this is a great summary of what makes that type of a welcoming organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally agree. So moving on to something a little bit different, Mike. A little bit different.
Boy.
Are you nervous?
No, I don't know what
you're
you're going.
Nervous?
I'm a little nervous.
You are?
I am.
There's no need to be nervous, Mike. Do you think I would do something to you that would make you a little nervous? No, not
I've
at
done
all.
it to you, so I think it's only fair.
That's true. But I was about to say I wouldn't do it to you, but that's not true.
Two-way street here.
I wouldn't say that's true, because I kind of would. So this
Bring
is
it
something.
on. Bring
This
it
is
on.
something that I came across this morning. So, Mike, you like your food. How do you feel about eating 3D printed vegan salmon?
What?
This is crazy,
What?
man. This is crazy, right? So, I mean,
I don't understand.
Your reaction is exactly what through my head when I first saw this, and I thought we got to talk about this, because it's just like,
How is this possible?
I have no idea, right? And there are so many on so many levels. My brain's going, how does that work? How do I eat it? How does it I just couldn't get to an answer. But then it digested over time. And
It's digested.
Yeah, you see what I did there? You see what I did?
I see what you did there.
And then I went, well, actually, if we think about it, so if we're going to create something that's 3D, and it's going to be, the anticipation is it's going to be developed that actually it provides all the nutrients that anyone would need. And I was like, is this different then to us taking some supplements? Is this different to us taking something that a drink, a shake, a pill? Is this different? It feels different. It feels completely foreign to us to think of something, 3D printing some food. But in essence, that's where I kind of got to, and I kind of went, it's kind of interesting. I don't know how the texture works. I don't know how it feels in your mouth. But I went through exactly what you went through, but then that's where I went. This is where I ended up.
Let's start from the beginning. We got a few minutes here. Let's get into this idea. I've always been and I'm going to just admit my ignorance here. 3D printing is a topic that's come around for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've seen articles. It's been fascinating. I've never really taken a deep dive into how it works. Have you ever seen a 3D print?
I've seen.
And explain to me how it works. 'Cause all I can imagine is a big piece of, square block of. I always thought it was like some plastic material that then could be shaped by this 3D printer into some other piece of plastic. How do you 3D print salmon?
I'm just looking. I'm looking at the image, and I have to go back and check in the article to see if there was a video. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there is probably some. Again, I'm gonna take in the concept of what you're talking about with the plastic and how you print a product or something with that using 3D printing. I have to imagine that there is some sort of fluid or something that's filled with the nutrients that is actually put, piped into this 3D printing concept, and then it produces a nice piece of salmon,
Oh, maybe I misunderstand 3D printing. Is that how you understand it?
That's how I understand it, yeah.
Shaping like some solid material into something. Like I've seen the big news on guns. You could actually 3D print the pieces that are components to a gun, which is, I get that. It's a piece of matter. I guess everything's matter. We're matter. So but I guess if you have the source material that creates a salmon, why not just eat that? What do we have to 3D print it into the shape of a salmon? I don't know. What's the block that goes into the 3D printer?
So for the audience, if you could describe this to us, we would be grateful, because clearly I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, but I just thought this was like just hilarious, and it just, my whole brain just reacted exactly the same as what you did, and I thought we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this. But anyway, there we go. And if we're 3D printing salmon, does that mean in the future, right, rather than actually having to go out and buy your lunch in the office, you just hit a button and then you print out your food and you're good to go? I don't know.
Well, I saw the term plant-based, in there in the article, and I know that you use plant-based materials to create anything. I mean, it tastes like a hamburger or
have you eaten
wings.
Those yet? Have you had the Impossible Burger yet?
I have not.
No, me neither.
So I'm assuming maybe that's what it is. You take this plant-based material and then you shape it into a piece of salmon or what have you, and you like you say, you infuse the flavors and stuff. But I've not, but it's interesting, and I've read articles over the last several years that talk about innovation and just things that are going to transform our society, our economy, and the number one thing that some people have said will just reinvent the world is this ability to, rethink how food is created. So it's an interesting topic, and I appreciate
it is.
You surprised me with that one.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. But yeah, so if you did manage to watch all the way through, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Do give us a thumbs up, do share, do subscribe, and if you do have a thought about anything we talked about, do write it in the comments below. If you just want to reach out to us directly, feel free to email us at oswdaily@gmail.com. And if you do know how this is created, please do let us know, and we'll share it with the audience.
That's awesome.
Next time.
Awesome.
All right, Mike. Well, I will see you next month, man.
Next month. Yes.
August. See what I did there? Yeah, so folks,
enjoy your Friday off, Steve.
You enjoy your Friday off.
Enjoy your weekend.
You too,
and we'll
mate.
talk soon.
You too, and we'll chat Monday. Take care, mate. Thanks.